What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and today I'm going to talk about how it seems like we as a society have, for lack of a better term, we've developed some trust issues, it seems. Now, this kind of, manifests itself in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's just not trusting a particular brand or company after their product is found to not work right or be of a good quality. Like, let's say a particular car company puts a model of car out there that needs to be recalled because a particular part doesn't work right. Or, like, a certain food brand is found to have some of their stuff, it's been tampered with, or like if it's produce, it's carrying some sort of bacteria that it shouldn't, different things like that. There's that kind of stuff that happens, and honestly, with those, it tends to be like, okay, there's the recall, we don't trust the brand for a little while, but long term, unless it happens multiple times in quick succession, there isn't really a whole lot that changes for overall future sales from that company. Once the recall is done, we just kind of forget about it, let bygones be bygones, and just carry on with our lives as we normally would. But what I think is far more problematic is that we've developed trust issues with kind of ourselves in a way, with people. And I'm not going to try and make any particular political slant or anything like that to this, because honestly, there are many different sources that have, I think, brought about this lack of trust. Some of it is from famous figures who have, brought up certain things that are happening in the world, certain types of injustice that really most of the time are like an exception to what's going on. But for example, people protesting what was initially just police brutality has turned into, I think, just a broader sense of not being able to trust the police at all for some people, especially for those groups of people that were most affected by police brutality to begin with. And it kind of transforms from just reporting the story, here's what happened, yeah, it's bad, and, whoever was involved in this particular situation maybe should not be trusted, but we'll take things that are an exception to the norm and assume that sort of applies to all of it. And, like I said, this has applied with people, different groups of people, especially law enforcement or sometimes government. One side will kind of attack the other and say, because they don't support this thing, you shouldn't trust them, vote for us instead. Or you get people like Donald Trump who will just say, don't trust the media because, it's all fake news, they're all liars. And I just think the sheer pervasiveness of these trust issues, for whatever different reasons, it's gotten kind of out of hand. Like, it used to be, I think at one time, sort of assumed that you could generally trust people. You could trust the police, your teachers, people in office. And, for better or for worse, now the attitude is kind of like, don't trust anybody. even if they've earned your trust, sometimes don't trust anybody, because anybody can, and some will, betray that trust. And so we just kind of shelter ourselves nowadays, it seems. Or at least a lot of parents want to shelter their kids from this kind of stuff. And I think kind of domino effect of this, like, it's practically assumed you can't even trust your own neighbors anymore. People will get charged, parents will get charged with criminal negligence of their own children just for letting them play outside in, you know, a particular area for extended periods of time without their direct supervision. Which, when did that become a thing? I mean, I can maybe slightly understand it in, like, downtown, inner city kind of areas, because literally all sorts of people can go through there all the time. Now, it's a little less of a factor, but it still happens occasionally, even in, like, suburbs and other living areas. I don't know what kind of world we have turned into, where it's like we can't even trust the people around us enough to just let kids play outside. Unless we're in some sort of, like, gated community where we've got our own little bubble. And the irony of that is it's usually the places that seem safer and people assume are safer and therefore do more of that kind of stuff, like letting their kids play outside unsupervised, ignoring the possibility of their neighbors, you know, not being the most trustworthy people. It's always those areas where you kind of assume everything's okay, that the kind of most publicized, overblown because it's unexpected kind of stories come from. And because nowadays it's like you look at the news and you kind of almost expect, even though you shouldn't, I feel like it's a sad statement about our society as a whole, but you kind of assume you got these big crowded city areas and you're going to hear about some crime from the inner city on a daily basis. Whether it's, you know, robbery, murder, all sorts of different stuff. You kind of assume that that's what you're going to hear. But then you take other areas or, you know, other kinds of stories and they're less expected. So they kind of give us more of a shock value. And I think too many people react to that shock of hearing that story with, oh, geez, I guess I can't trust anybody. Or something to that effect. Or at least I can't trust this group of people. And, I mean, yeah, I realize we're all flawed human beings who mess up and do bad things and break each other's trust and that kind of stuff. But innocent until proven guilty does not seem to be a thing anywhere in the world except in court anymore. We always seem to assume that somebody did something and, you know, we expect the worst. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't think like that at all. I'm not going to say that you should just blindly trust everybody, because some people are going to take advantage of that trust. I mean, I probably myself tend to trust people to a fault a little bit, you know, especially people that I know personally. I'll take a lot of people at their word just because I want to assume the best of them. But I do occasionally have people tell me bad information or outright lie to me on occasion, or, you know. But honestly, on the whole, I don't think I personally am that bad for it. I don't think it's put me in too many really terrible situations. But anyway, like, there's some extent to which you should be kind of wary of other people around you. Don't just blindly trust somebody. But at the same time, like, in my mind, I think it should be more of a prepare for the worst, hope for the best kind of mentality, where nowadays the overall mentality of society just seems to be assume the worst. And if it's at all preventable, then prevent it from happening. Even if that means, like, sheltering yourself or your kids or whoever you're connected with, just wrapping yourself in a bubble. And I think that kind of takes away from some of the better experiences in life when you can't go out there and just kind of, you know, not worry about things for a little bit. I think it's just kind of promoted this mass paranoia that, you know, if you automatically assume at every turn something bad's going to happen, then you can't really enjoy things in life. It's really pretty much impossible to enjoy, like, it's impossible to enjoy relationships if you assume the person's just putting up a front and going to stab you in the back eventually. It's impossible to enjoy, you know, vacations to unfamiliar areas if you assume that something bad is going to happen, or some person is going to come up and try and steal something from you, or, you know, I'm just saying, there's a lot of enjoyment in life that just kind of gets sucked out of everything if you always assume the worst. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know if there's a particular remedy for this other than just kind of not giving into all the news, all the media, all the surrounding societal mistrust, and just trying to, each individual on their own, try and, you know, hope for the best, maybe prepare for some bad stuff in case it happens, but, you know, just kind of hope that people are good, that the situation's going to be all right, and that, you know, you won't have the worst case scenario happen every single time. But like I said, I don't know. I don't really have a concrete solution to this. It's just a problem that I see that I think kind of in some way I'm hoping might change. What I find extra interesting about this is that, like, if you are kind of like me and you kind of want to assume the best of people and you kind of act in that kind of mentality, a lot of people seem to think that you might be naive, or you're just too trusting and something bad's going to happen to you eventually because you trust people too much, or that you're going to get duped or lied to or anything like that. And yeah, sure, there are some things like that happen. And if you've been given a reason to not trust, like if you personally have experienced something that gives you a lack of trust, I can totally understand that. But I don't know, just this, again, this sense of paranoia that any and all of the worst possible things could happen at any given moment, I think it just kind of paralyzes us and keeps us from enjoying life and maybe taking some risks and or just doing some things that otherwise we could do a whole lot better, just because we don't want to trust people. So if you think that, you know, you agree with this idea that we need to maybe try and work on trusting each other a little bit more, maybe give the video a like or share it with other people you know. If you're looking for more stuff from me, you can subscribe to my channel, and you can try clicking the notification bell to get updates when I put stuff up on YouTube, but that doesn't always work. If you want to try following me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, information on that is going to be down in the description below this video. And further down below that, you can leave a comment with your thoughts on this topic. If you have any ideas for how we could try and fix this, other than just kind of talking about it, let me know. Or if you have other ideas, different topics you want me to talk about on this channel, just leave a comment down there. Any of your thoughts, as long as they're, within reason, put them down there. And let me know what you think. So anyway, that's going to do it for this time around. I hope you're all doing well, and hopefully I will see you next time. Stay cool, people.